Hey Vincent, good morning.
Morning, Anthony.
Morning. So good morning everyone. Thanks so much for joining. I know time is a precious thing, so we really appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully we're going to give you some insights that you're going to find interesting and actionable. And I think one of the reasons myself and Vincent wanted to do this is we've both been finance leaders for a number of years. Me a few more than Vincent, and we know your pain, we share your pains. We've all been there, be it over reliance on spreadsheets, or be it not being able to choose the right vendor, or choosing the right vendor and then being beholden to them. So whatever pains you're going through in your business, one of us have probably experienced the same issues. And with this solution that we've put in for Vincent's business, we think this solves a lot of those problems. And we're really very certainly, I'll let Vincent speak for himself, but certainly I think this is a great solution for most businesses and solves a lot of the issues. So we're very, very passionate about sharing it with our peers and letting them take a look and see whether they can find some advantages for them, for yourself in your business. So anyway, time is precious, so we won't spend too much longer. I don't know. We'll dive into it. Vincent, do you want to say a few words before we hit the deck?
Yeah, sure. No, thanks for joining today. We'll go into it in more details what exactly solution we found. But one of the things I've always struggled with is to get useful insights from accounting systems, where you either have very simple two standard single entity system generated items, or when anything is more complex, you just keep jumping back from spreadsheet to spreadsheet. I feel it's a waste in modern data technology, and I feel finance has been a decade behind the curve. So great to share what we've been doing here.
Okay, so I need to switch between what I'm sharing a couple of times. While I do that, then Polling is going to put up some polls. They're totally confidential, and just to get a sense of what people are interested in. So okay, so I'm now going to hopefully switch into a PowerPoint, imaginatively called Key Reports. And really it came from adversity. And if you look at this graph, this is when it all started. This is the graph that shows when crude oil went to -37. And at the time I was working for a company that's performance was dependent on the structure of the oil industry, and this completely decimated that business. We went from 100 million plus turnover down 80% overnight. So across the business we were reducing costs, and that applied to the finance function as well. So I've got no IT budget. I needed to cut. The business was still complex because we were switching from a large unit supplier to a service business, so it was very complex. So I needed to increase the reporting requirements, reduce the costs, and we've got no IT budget. So I looked around at what we'd got, started using the Microsoft Power Platform, and really was just amazed at how transformational that could be. So over the next 12 months or so, I totally immersed myself in those functions, totally immersed myself in learning it and applying it, brought it into my own business, and again, think it's so transformational. Set up my own company so that I can now hopefully bring this to other people. So that's the background of where it's from, and I just want to show you how easy it is to get there. So you all see this, you all know this. This is Office 365, where all your apps are, and within there you've got these three. So the main one, you've got Power BI, you've got Power Automate, and Power Apps. So when we've finished here, all of you can go and load these up, and it's as easy as that. Now within Power BI, the real magic happens within these two. So these two are embedded within Power BI. So you've got Power Query, and you've got a programming language called DAX. So Power Query is data preparation, data transformation, and DAX is a little bit like Excel, but rather than writing formulas across cells, it writes formulas across databases. So it's a little more complex, but I'd say 50% of it is like Excel. So these are really the engines that are driving this. And just to show, the real magic is Power Query, which I think is one of the best kept secrets of the Microsoft suite. And just to show you how easy it is to get to Power Query, this is a report in Power BI. So if you load up Power BI, you'll get this ribbon at the top, whatever you're viewing. And within there's this little icon here, and that takes you to Power Query. And then within Power Query, if you see down the side here, this is bringing in all your files. So these are all sourced from the ERP, and this is Power BI. This has got links to all ERPs. So whatever you're using, we can get your data into Power Query and produce this solution. So what you'll see here, you've got the general ledger entries across different entities. You've got the vendor ledger entries across the different entities. And if I was showing you further down, you'd see customer ledger entries as well. So any files you've got, any sub ledgers can all be brought into here. And then this is once you've got the data in here, you've got a user interface. So this is no developer coding. This is user interfaces that we're all used to seeing. It's a different one. You have to learn it, but you don't have to learn coding. And then that allows you to do the data preparation and the data transformation. So every time this refreshes, it runs through this menu of data preparation, data transformation, and it's all set and it's all robust. And what this allows you to do is combine all of these entities and then bring in your vendor details. So if you're drilling down on a general ledger entry, you can see the vendor, the description from the vendor ledger, and you can combine any of these. So it's a very powerful tool. So this is really the engine of what we were using. And from that, this is what we could put in for Entoria. So we got all, I believe, Vincent's solutions, and Vincent's going to speak for himself. All these solutions available from any browser, so mobile as well. So you're not logging into any third-party application. It's all through a browser. It's built on software that Vincent had already owned and was already paying for, and it updates automatically overnight. So it gives him real-time reporting on all his requirements. So that's the background. So I think we're going to move on to Vincent now. And the way we're going to do it, we're going to ask Vincent a question and just let him talk. I've got some points, but this is not scripted. So what we're going to go in from here is very much more of a discussion and see whether my points match what Vincent's saying, and just have a discussion around that. Okay, so first question. So Vincent, over to you. Introduce yourself, and what were your specific requirements that you were looking for from a solution at the point that we started talking?
All right, sure. So thanks. So we are a renewable energy business, and we work globally. We're kind of like an investor in many ways, in which we invest in smaller renewable energy projects globally. What it means for our business is that our finance is somewhat complex. We have about 30 legal entities. We have a lot of shareholder investments, cash flows, intergroup transactions, but we only have 15 people, 30 people. So where this brings us is that we fall between the gap. Zero is too simple for us. We cannot get the insights. We cannot do consolidation. We cannot do group transaction. We only get simple reports. It's nice if you have even a big business that has a very simple product like a shop, it can work, but not for anything else. At the same time, when I was brought in to bring in an accounting system, if you look at Oracle NetSuite, SAP Business One, which is the so-called SME solution, it's still completely excessive. So we're looking for something that would allow us to consolidate, would give us the reports that we want, but would fit our budget and the size of our company.
Okay, so that's the first one I've got there, Vincent, which you mentioned, time to implement. I think you mentioned, rolling cash forecasts were important to you, probably more so than the actual plan.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. Coming from a big corporate where a plan is this 2-month exercise where everybody dropped doing any actual work, and start more into making some super complex plan that's outdated next month. We're in a way more dynamic business, and the only way you can survive there is to have a more rolling forecast. What we ran into is that using built-in tools are way too complex there.
Okay, so just the other things I got here that I picked up on is, you were very interested in project reporting across entities, which is a certain complexity. Difficult to do in an ERP at times, that sort of thing. You've got a specific reporting for different shareholders, so that was a complexity. And of course, we're all interested in budget. You're a relatively young company, so it was important to put something in place that was cost effective. Okay, so the next question is, what alternatives did you consider when you were looking at this?
Okay, so there's quite a lot of alternatives out there, right? Our starting point was basically it was clear that we needed some sort of accounting tool, and that Xero was not enough. So we had to go to one sort of ERP or another. Then we looked at different packages. I have worked with SAP before. I think it's an absolute nightmare, and I think they're stuck in the last century. But okay, for some reason they're one of Germany's biggest companies, so they're doing something right.
But that stood out. Vincent, that's not a German-Dutch thing.
Sorry? That's
not a German-Dutch thing.
To do something right, or?
No, they're criticising SAP because they're German.
No. Well, anybody who's super happy to say SAP, I would implement it to my household, and I would recommend my best friends to use it. Can raise their hand. Let's be fair. SAP is extremely powerful for complex billion-dollar businesses that have these impossible complex resource allocations. But I think even their attempt to have an SME solution is just too cumbersome. Their reporting interfaces are complex, too expensive. They take too much time to build, so they're not really suitable. And the other one, I think the one that you always resort to is spreadsheets. And even when I was in Royal Dutch Shell, which is a large oil company, a lot of reporting, despite using a customized SAP, was still done through spreadsheets, because you need that report that you just cannot get out of the system. It's okay, it's cheap, but it becomes very inefficient if you need to extract a spreadsheet every time. The third one we looked at shortly is third-party packages. So we're talking about things like JET reports, and there's all sorts of other reporting interfaces. I was very disappointed with what's available in the market. I thought in general they're very expensive and very hard to customize. So to implement something that does nothing more than take my accounting data and put it in a fancy pivot table, you're easily looking at 10K start interface and then 5K per report. So that's just too excessive. So there wasn't really that much good alternatives.
Okay. And then I guess the final one is going to a third-party package.
Yeah, as I said, things like JET, the company that do JET reports, the other ones that extract data, as I said, that too expensive, too cumbersome, too hard to maintain as well. Yeah.
Okay, and I think the other thing is, if you do, there's a couple of other things with choosing a third-party vendor is, what if you choose the wrong one? You're kind of locked into them for a while then. And even if you choose the right one, you'll still be beholden to them for any, additional work or increase in fees. It's very difficult to switch from these vendors once you've committed.
Yeah. Oh, is that what you meant? Well, that's a scope change. Here's the bill. Is the answer from every IT consultant.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, and then, so what appealed about, what I was suggesting to you at the time?
So I think, it's interesting. I think we met at the absolutely right time, because I was contemplating whether something should be possible along the lines that you already had developed. And I thought it was possible in theory. I just didn't see it in action yet. So I was kind of fortunate that we met. My idea was, first of all, something that has a direct link to the ERP. I'm a big believer in the continuous improvement Six Sigma theories. get your data reports where people can extract them with nobody in between actually generating them. So that was critical. There had to be a direct link. The second thing is I rather have a one-stop shop. I rather have one framework in which I can generate all my sort of reporting interfaces, rather than having one tool for budgeting and one for reporting and one for statutory. Yeah, no cost. As I said, we're a small company and I'm busy, so I don't have 5 IT people that are first of all billing me, and second of all are asking me a lot of questions. Yeah, the third-party vendor. I think also a bit from in Dutch we say from schade en schande wordt men wijs. It means once the damage is done, you learn how to not do it. We have several entities that are managed by external accountants in their own systems, to which we don't have access. So that means that you don't even have access to your own data. Now, I don't mind having a third party for services, but for ongoing basis, for the stuff to function, I should not be depending on a third party. It should be my data and my solution and my license. Yeah, the other one is the customization. One thing that, as I mentioned, the custom packages, you get some IT guy that bills you for every scope change. I will, without any doubt, will have new reporting requirements every week, because we're a growing business, we're a changing business, we work in 10 countries. So without any doubt, next week somebody's going to ask me a question from some sort of variation to the report that we have not designed. And for me, it's a big difference. Can I create that report with 2 more clicks? Or do I need to call my IT guy to develop something for me? So the customization is quite critical, the flexibility, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Vincent. I think that's a lot of talking for a while, and so we're going to move on to the dangerous bit now, which is, you know, a quick live demo, so you can actually see what we're talking about rather than just talking about it. So I'm going to again just switch to presenting a different screen. I'm going to try and do this live, so if it goes wrong, please be kind. And Poling's going to put up another poll while I just switch to the demo. Okay, you can see that, Vincent? Use you as my test.
I can.
Okay, so look, what we've got here, we've got just a normal browser. This happens to be Chrome, but it can be anything. And you can see these are all the reports. And by the way, these are built on, some of these are built on Vincent's solutions, some are built on mine. They've got all the data and all the references anonymized. So they're kind of a subset of what we've got. There's probably a little bit more functionality in the real thing, but this should give you a very good idea. So you've got everything in the one place. So we've got the financials, we've got AR, we've got AP, and we've got the plan. If you had other subledgers, if you were doing inventory or whatever else you wanted, it could all be in here on the same kind of solution. So a quick look at the financials. So the first thing you note here is that you've got all your entities in one report. You can choose different entities here or have them all. You've got a date range up here, so it's very flexible what you want to look at. The key thing from this one is you can pick any number here, be it a total or be it an item, and then you can drill down to the transactions. So you've got all straight to the transactions there, back to the report. This report has got some nice drill up, drill down features. So you can drill up to a summary, drill down to the general ledger, and then, like I say, drill through there. And you've got that for a balance sheet, same thing. Same thing. And, you know, as Vincent said on the customizable thing, once you've got the data in, it's very easy to give you anything you really want. And one of Vincent's main issues was he's going to have a lot of consolidations and quite complex consolidations for different shareholders and different stakeholders. So we build a consolidation solution here where you can pick which consolidation you want. It shows you the total entity balance, the eliminations, and the balance after eliminations. And what you can do here is for anywhere where there's an elimination, again, you can drill through, shows you all of the transactions in that line, but then it highlights what the intercompany elimination is for that. And that's a relatively intelligent tool where you change the consolidation so it looks at whether that intercompany is within that consolidation and eliminates it. If it's an intercompany which isn't within that consolidation, then it treats it as a third party. And then we all want to see things against plan. So this is one against plan. And I think the interesting functionality you've got here is we've got a separate module which creates the plan in quite a nice way. It brings in the actuals, it runs it through some what us finance people would call formulas, but these days it's proprietary algorithms, and it spits out a rolling forecast which is then easy to amend, and then that reads automatically back into Power BI. So you can do different plan versions very easily. So what we've got here, you can say, I want to see my actuals up to a certain month, then forecast to the end of the period using this plan, and I want to compare it to this original plan. So what it's very easy to do is to create, say, a monthly rolling forecast, which you use to forecast to the end of the period, and then compare it to an original forecast that you have. But this is all, this is all drop down. You can bring in these different versions as you wish. And again, it's got you can look at it by entity, several entities, whatever. Operating costs. So again, once it's in, you can all sorts of nice graphs. The nice function here is you can just highlight the ones you're interested in. It shows you it by vendor, and you can drill down into those transactions from anywhere. So really anything that you can highlight, you can get back to the transactions. And then just quickly, you've got projects that Vincent was looking for, and then a dashboard by entity and an entity detail. So very quick run through there, but then if we want to go to AP, very easy just to click on your favorites and load up the AP. Consolidated, again, you can say I only want to see anything that's over 31 days. I want to see, so you can mix and match there. You can pick different entities, and then one of the nice functionalities here, so you can drill down from here to get the invoice, or you can drill through and see the full detail of that AP. So one of the nice just to show additional functionality here, what we've done here is bring in any invoices that are available for payment. You can filter these as you want. You can select the different entities, the different invoices that you want to pay. And then this is a Power Automate that's embedded into Power BI. You hit that and that will send it to finance. So they can then approve or reject. And if finance approve it, then that sends off a file that will load up into your ERP system with one click or automatically. So that's a good example of how we're using the Power Automate to get in there. And then you've got the same with AR. It's again a couple of clicks, you're into AR. It's all consolidated, it's all aged, it's got all the same drill downs, and then on the plan. So this is the cash forecast that Vincent was looking for. What this does is, and by the way, this is totally fake numbers, so this is nothing to do with Vincent's business. But what we do is we bring in any AP that's due, and then combine it with the plan where the plan hasn't been invoiced at that time. Any invoices which are due but from previous periods get pulled forward into the previous period. So you can see which invoices are included over here, and we have a mechanism for being able to change that revised due date to pull that into wherever you want to forecast that in the cash forecast. So that's a very, very quick overview just to show you the functionality. But I think, again, once the data's in, we're working on the assumption that most business, probably 80% of businesses are standard, but the other 20% is very unique. And this is a solution which can get you the 80% very quickly, and then the 20% can be tailored for exactly what your business requirements are. Okay, so I'm going to try and switch back now to the deck. So polling, if you want to give the last poll. My mouse has stopped working. Okay, so thankfully you decided to go forward, Vincent. So would you, do you want to talk us through what the implementation process was?
Yeah, sure. So I think it was quite easy. Yeah, of course we sign an NDA first. We need to we do take that serious. Then yeah, I think what we did, and I think that's the way we like to work, is not to work with, rather have an external IT vendor on our premises, IT premises, than the other way around. So I think we set up your email access, gave you an Entoria account. Yeah, then 1 week, yeah, we just gave you the access. I think we pretty quickly had what we needed. Because, as you said, most of your solution, 80%, is standard for all the businesses. I think we had some collaboration on specific requirements. So we had some discussions, which was a bit more framing than actual detailed discussions, so more conceptualizing what we know, because it's also for us, right, translating what we think.
Yeah.
And all very easy, because you have a lot of experience, so that means rather than hand-holding some IT guy in what exactly is a cash flow statement, I think you kind of got why we need to do a cash planning to begin with, so that made it quite easy, I think.
Yeah, okay, great. And then, we're all concerned about risk when we make these decisions. So what would have been your worst case downside scenario if this hadn't gone well?
Nothing. Then I would think, oh man, that was a waste of my 2 hours in my beers, but okay. Yeah. No, so that was the thing. No, without any jokes, that's of course that's the key thing. You appoint an external vendor, you sink a lot of money and a lot of time. You better get it right, and if the person messes up, yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah,
and I think one of the interesting things here is it's more of a bolt-on to what you're already using, and so it's not really disruptive at all to people.
No.
Yeah, and look, there must be. I think the only real risk you've got here is on the NDA side. If you look at your implementation period, your implementation process, that's the only thing that you could really look at and say I was taking a risk. I mean, of course, you've got legal recourse, but the other thing I'd say here is, look, I'm my livelihood comes from being a CFO. That depends on integrity.
You're the most honest guy in the world.
Not quite, but I certainly think that you wouldn't be taking any NDA risk here. So. Okay.
I think you're right. You cannot do anything. You can't do anything on financial data without giving some sort of system access, right? So.
Well, I don't see it any different than giving any of your IT consultants access. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so who do you think this works for, and who would it potentially not work for?
I think any SME. I think that's the thing. Anybody who's too big to zero and too small for SAP. which is probably
Yeah.
70% of the global businesses, would fit this. So I think for everybody, even I think, to be honest, even when I was still working in Shell, I think there would have been a lot of benefit in having a tool like this.
Well, that's what, yeah, look, I think this solution is mainly for SMEs and can be the backbone of their, their reporting. But even for the larger organizations where you have very little flexibility, I think if you can get the data into this, it can make you a lot more effective in your role. You've seen on the demo, you can switch between the financials and the AR and the AP. I mean, I have these open when I'm doing meetings, and you switch to the info that's currently being talked about, and it just allows you to have that real-time contribution to the business, which can be very, very impactful. So I think that's a strong point. So look, when I explain this to people, Vincent, it's people think it's almost too good to be true. So what I'm trying to do is get people to just experience it and see it. So this is really what, if anybody's interested, what we can do next. If you want to just set up an introduction call with me, and that would be a very very informal conversation about whether this solution is a potential for you. I'd sign an NDA. I've got one available, or I'm happy to sign any NDA that you put in front of me, as long as doesn't have crazy clauses in. And then basically give me login or read-only access to the system, and then sit back and wait for those 80% results that we talked about, which are standard across businesses. So at that stage, you can then look at that and decide whether it's something you're interested in or not. And at that point, you've really invested probably less than an hour, and you've invested $0, but it gives you an opportunity to really experience on your data and your figures. And it's quite powerful when you see your figures in that format and have that easy access to. Look, we've just gone over by a couple of minutes. Thank you all very much. I hope you found something here that resonated and you found interesting. Thank you very much, Vincent, for joining us, taking your time, and being very insightful in the answers that you gave. And for anyone interested, here's a QR code. If you want to scan that takes you to my calendar. You can book a 30-minute chat. I love talking about this stuff. There's no hard sell. It's just about how we can help you guys become more efficient and impactful. And we really do, we really are passionate about this solution for other finance people. Or just get in touch with me any other way, or get in touch with Vincent and he can put you in touch with me. And so thanks again. Fantastic that you all joined, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.